Hello and welcome. Doing another live stream. Wore out today. I didn't get to sleep until about 5 something this morning for some reason. I couldn't sleep at all, and then I woke up. I was woke up at 10 o'clock because I had to go to the hospital, get a chest x-ray, um, and some blood work for my appointment tomorrow that I'm going to. Then I had to go get some medicine, then go shopping. By the time I come back, it was 4 something. Hell, I didn't even get to eat before I left, so yeah, woke up at 10 o'clock and didn't get to eat till 4 p.m., 4 something, so been kind of snacking since, and then I just ate dinner, so I'm now kind of full, but that's how my day's kind of been going. Anyway, let's see here. Um, so we want to talk about today's issues. Well, first, let's go ahead and at least give a moment for John McCain. Not a conservative. Consider myself quite in the progressive camp, but I didn't always agree with him, what he did, what he said. But I can say at least the man was principled and he was patriotic. So take a moment there. Okay. I felt it at least needed to be said, needed to be done. So I can respect you without having to agree with you. Although there's some people I have no respect for because they just Alex Jones, Donald Trump are examples. You have to show respect and civility and intelligence to earn it. So, like I said, I didn't always agree with the things McCain said or did, but he was principled. He was patriotic, so I can at least respect him for that. Anyway, and another topic I do want to touch on. Um, Religion. I don't feel it should be banned at all. However, it should be understood that the Constitution also allows a freedom from religion. Trying to think if I have a copy of a book with the Constitution in it. One moment. Here's my Native American books. Documents of Western Civilization. Volume 1. Here's Volume 2. Let's see. Has the American Declaration of Independence. The Third Estate, Declaration of Rights and of Man and the Citizen. The Women's March on Versailles. Some interesting topics. We'll kind of set it to the side though. Let's see if I have anything in my civilizations book here. Volume 2. Since 1500. Do. 18th century, Age of Enlightenment. What was that? 17. Chapter 19, which goes page 355. Put that right there. Let's look at the index. UV United or US. Okay, 674B. We skipped over it. On 71. Sure. And then what was the last one here? U.S. Constitution 1031. Judicial revolution, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's look up in the index towards here. Bill of Rights. Or do, do, do. Constitution, but you have to look at the U.S. Constitution. See if they have a copy of it in here somewhere. Blah, 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 about the gold standard. I know I had a copy of it somewhere. Volume 2, though, this doesn't have all the points of history that I want. Don't have many of my political science books with me. Oh well. Say la vie. Tis what it is, and that's all that it is. So I just wasted a good 10 minutes of your time looking for information I don't have right upon hand. But maybe this book won't fail me. Let's see. This deals with the revolution in the United States. Well, it talks about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, blah, blah, blah. And then how the French Revolution was kind of inspired. Fall of the Bastille. I want to see if they perhaps have the Bill of Rights in here. Justice in the Reign of Terror. The Age of Napoleon. Coronation of Napoleon. Napoleon as the first consul, and then Emperor Napoleon. I was hoping it would have a copy of the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. But alas, 'twas not to be. Industrial Revolution and the impact on European society. Okay. The Court of Marco Polo, or The Great Khan, by Marco Polo. Blah. I'm sorry I'm being boring as hell, but I'm like I said, it's just kind of a chill, relaxed stream, and proclamations by Pierre Toussaint Louverture. Like I said, we got the Declaration, but not the Bill of Rights or the Constitution. So, let me look this up via the websites here. Bill of Rights. We don't want summaries. We want the actual Bill of Rights. All amendments. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the exercise thereof or abridging free exercise thereof. So it is not to make a law that says you have to be this religion, you have to follow this religion, you have to follow this religion's tenets. But it is not to prevent you from worshiping the religion as you wished. So, they cannot abridge the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of people peaceably to assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances. See, that's what I disagree with for how they treated the Occupy movement. They were peaceably assembled for the most part. There were dissenters, and those should have been taken down. Those people should have been arrested. But the ones who were peaceably sitting there, people who peaceably protest by sitting down to protest an issue, should never be seen as bad. But my original point, before I started digging through all the books and everything, you can't make a religion can't make a law to force people to follow a certain religion or to follow religious customs. But you can't prevent people from believing in that religion either. So, yeah, you can't be forced to like it. You can't be forced to worship it. But you can't force others from not doing so. Hmm. Sorry, I think I had a little bit of chili in my teeth there. Where I eat dinner. Anyway, yeah, that's what makes religion such a difficult issue. And here's another thing. Let's talk about the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's the entirety of the Second Amendment, which makes you have to question, All right, we no longer use militias. So is there a need for guns? My compromise would be that people who wish to buy and own guns must serve in a form of the military, uh, either as an official branch or, in what I suggest, we form and develop as the U.S. militia, which is kind of like the National Guard in a way. It's just people who give their time to do things to like protect the U.S. or protect situations. So essentially, it's extra troops if we need it at home for any reason. And I do feel they would have to work out like National Guardsmen have to go twice a month, at least 2 weekends a month to go train. So I feel that is more than fair just based on the wording of the Second Amendment. I mean, wouldn't you agree? Because either there's no need for guns since we no longer use militias, or we form a national militia, like I said, for extra troops to add, in situations of emergency. And these national militiamen go and train 2 weekends out of a month, every month, if you wish to own firearms. I think it's more than fair. And of course, you should get paid like any other troop. It's very simple. Just just a fact. Looking at the Second Amendment. Now, the Third Amendment. The one about forced quartering. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner that shall be prescribed by law. So, that essentially means you cannot be forced to house a soldier. And that was a major issue during the colonial era, that they would have to be forced to house British soldiers just so the soldiers could watch over them. And it's something we put in our Constitution. There shall be no forced quartering, or no forced quartering of soldiers. So you cannot be forced to allow a soldier to live in your house on without your consent. Now, this brings us to the Fourth Amendment. I don't know how we got on to talking about the amendments, the Bill of Rights, but we'll kind of go over the first 10 amendments here, which are the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. But Amendment 4, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly prescribing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. That means the only way they can search you without a warrant is probable cause. But in most situations, uh, law enforcement officers, I can't hardly talk, are required, my mind just went blank, are required a warrant to search your house or your car, and they must list what they are searching for. That means they can't just search. And if they're searching for, say, weapons, if they find no weapons but find drugs on you, they have to get another warrant for those drugs because that's not what they were searching for. Now they've already seen those drugs. They know you have them, but they need another warrant for their search and seizure. At least that's the way it's meant. I read it. So someone else who may be like a lawyer who practices criminal and civil law may read it differently, or someone else within political sciences may read it differently. But that's how I kind of see the Fourth Amendment. And that'll bring us to the Fifth Amendment. And this is where you often hear people, I plead the Fifth. Very common phrase. And it reads, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land and naval forces or in the militia, when the actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So that holds several parts we need to take look at. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except arising in the cases of land or naval forces or in the militia during actual time of war or danger. So, except for the military, you cannot be forced to show up for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless you are to be presented in front of or indicted by a grand jury. So if you're first being put on trial by a grand jury or you're being indicted by the grand jury. The next part. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. This is called double jeopardy. You cannot be tried on the same issue. So if you are found not guilty of a certain crime, let's say of murder, you cannot be put on trial for that exact same murder again. Especially if you went to the Supreme Court and they found you not guilty. So it basically says, yeah, double jeopardy. You can't do that. You can't keep trying a person until you get guilty. You can, like in the O.J. Simpson trial, there was the criminal trial in which he was tried for murder. He was found not guilty. But in the shoot, I can't think of the name of the trial, but it was for damages. He was found guilty of having cost the families so much money and had to pay them. But it could not be found guilty of the murder of the murders he was accused of in the other trial that he was found not guilty of. And that's how double jeopardy works. Civil trial, there we go. Where he had to pay Ron Goldman's father and everything. Let's see. The next part of the Fifth Amendment, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. That's where you often hear, I plead the fifth, because you cannot be forced to say something self-incriminating, or in other words, be a witness against yourself. If you've ever watched the Chappelle Show, there's a famous skit where he goes, I plead the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth. So it's pleading the fifth. And that's where that kind of comes from. And lastly, of Amendment 5, Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. That means they just can't take something without offering a fair payment. This kind of comes with I think it comes with I can't think of the name of the rule, but it's where government seizes land, but they need to purchase it from the landowner. I can't. It may not be on the same thing because I get thinking about it now. I'm thinking sometimes they can just take the land, as in the case of the Reds in Roanoke when they wanted to put in the Mountain Valley Pipeline. Look it up. It's a real incident. Regardless, um, they can't see. They can't just like seize a car from you without offering you just compensation. But that's the Fifth Amendment. Now, the Sixth Amendment. All criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and the cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have assistance of a counsel for his defense. This often goes with the part where if you do not have an attorney, one shall be assigned to you. The blah 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 blah. It's often, I believe, it's in the Miranda rights. I believe that's what it is. It's when the police have to read you your rights. But it's the Sixth Amendment. Let's kind of go over that there. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused or the defendant shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. So you can't just hold them in prison forever without putting them on trial. Even though things have slowed down significantly because our prison systems are so crowded, especially with prisoners dealing with silly marijuana charges, which are nonsense. Regardless, they should be given the right to a speedy and public trial. So if they want it to be held publicly, they have that right. And it needs to be by an impartial jury of the Senate or the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation. So not only do you have a right to a Speedy trial, the state and the district must tell you what you are guilty or what you are accused of. And the trial must be held in the same region where the crime was committed. So, um, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, so the state can't just say, we have witnesses who say you were there, but then not present them, not let you see them, not let you hear from them. So you have that right. And to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor. So you have a right to gather witnesses that are favorable to you and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. So again, that's in the Miranda rights where attorney shall be presented for you if you do not have one, blah, blah, blah. So that is Amendment 6. And that brings us to Amendment 7. In suits at common law, where the controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to rules of common law. So, in civil cases, if they are $20 or more, you have a right to a jury trial. And the court can't just say, well, no, let's take a look at it, even though they made this decision, and make a new decision. They can't do that. That's not legal by the Bill of Rights. When you look at Amendment 7, which brings us to Amendment 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. So it mustn't be bails that are excessive for the defendant. They mustn't be, if they're found guilty, they mustn't be fined an excessive amount that they could never pay, or punished by means of cruel or unusual punishments, which you often hear people argue that the death penalty is a cruel and unusual punishment. That's why it's part of the Eighth Amendment. You cannot have cruel and unusual punishments. So many people say that the death penalty is unjust, unconstitutional. So this brings us to the Ninth Amendment. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. So you cannot use the amendments in a way to try to take away other rights that people have. And that brings us back to the First Amendment, in which many like to argue, well, it's freedom of religion. You cannot use that to take away other people's rights to do as they see fit as long as it is legal. Because that is unconstitutional. And that's the Ninth Amendment. And lastly, rounding out the Bill of Rights, Amendment 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. Now, this one's often argued and often kind of seen as states' rights. Essentially, the United States has supremacy in its laws over state laws. However, if the US does not deem it fully illegal, to do something, then a state can decide yes or no on something, which is kind of like the whole marijuana issue right now. It's not really enforced by federal law, even though it's considered an illegal drug. So states, as of this moment, are trying to pass it as medicinal and in some recreational. So that often um, infringes on the idea of the 10th Amendment. But that is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. In other words, what's known as the Bill of Rights. I think I just kind of hopped onto it because I was talking about my feel for religion, but yeah. Um, but what else is really going on? Watched an interesting 3-hour interview by Joe Rogan of Neil deGrasse Tyson. Very fun, very informational. Always love Dr. Tyson when it comes to science. Him and others like Michio Kaku and oh Lord, there's so many others. There's so many great minds out there, and it's a shame that we don't give them. Well, I just knocked my own glasses off. We don't give them the kind of access and notoriety that we give to celebrities. I feel we should know scientists and historians as much as we know who the hell Kylie Jenner is or Kim Kardashian, which they don't deserve the notoriety they have at all. What the fuck have they done besides being moderately attractive and rich? It really is stupidity. It's celebrity worship at its finest, or I guess you could say at its worst. But I think that's going to be it for now. I've been on for almost an hour, 10 minutes of which I spent looking through books. So I do apologize for that. But we went over the first 10 amendments to Bill of Rights. Now, I don't feel bad about letting me know if I did mess up. If you are someone who is, say, a lawyer or a constitutional rights specialist, political scientist, I welcome debate. But don't pull the stupid and try to argue you're a moron because you don't do this right. I can't stand that kind of stupidity. Anyway, regardless, educate thyself. Read, study, learn. Textbooks, wonderful resource. They're often third person sources, but they're a wonderful resource. I do want to say, don't feel bad if you are watching, because do know that there are always people who do care for you no matter how you may feel sometimes. But for now, that's it. And probably we'll see you all tomorrow some point. But that's it for now. Later.